Do you often struggle to decide whether you should buy or rent a house? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to decide and what you should do before taking the leap. The first and most important thing to realize is that we have all been sold a lie. Now, most of you don't realize this, but you have. Every single thing that you thought you knew about buying or renting is completely wrong. You were told to go to school, get an education, then work for a few years, and thereafter buy a new house. Just like the rest of us. And we do it for a few reasons, right? We've been told by friends, family, by the media, things like don't make other people rich by paying the landlord rent, or don't throw away money. The all famous, your home is an asset and can be sold later once you increase equity value in the property. And lastly, and the most traditional from most families, buy a home so that you can raise a family, as if you couldn't do it without owning the home. But here's the thing. Were you ever told about phantom costs? Do you even know what phantom means? Were you ever told that the market does not always appreciate in value? And did you know that the type of property that you own does matter? And that certain types of properties have certain cap values. And these cap values have cap limitations. So let me explain with my own property. I bought my very first apartment property back in 2013 for 785,000 Rand. And I still owned the property 10 years later in 2023. And just like you, I took a bank loan, I paid the transfer duties and began paying the bank premiums from day one. Now here is where it begins to get interesting. Just remember that phantom costs are hidden downsides that require financial compensation. Things like levies, special levies, rates and taxes, all of these fall under the category of phantom costs. Not forgetting domestic effluent, which most people tend to forget once they're in their property. For 10 years, I paid the bank premiums, I paid all the phantom costs, and now I've compared all of these costs as a summation over the years had I rented my property instead of purchasing it. So as you see, I've lined up everything for you and added up the incurred costs on the buy column versus the rent column. So as you can see, bank interest took out a large portion of the expenses, so much so that the appreciated value of the property came nowhere close to the increased interest rate I owed the bank. If anything, if I remove the buy-related costs, which is the levies, rates and taxes and transfer costs, and instead saved it, given the current market conditions, I would have saved over 260,000 Rand as a future down payment. So if I sell my property now in 2024, I can realistically make a profit of 135,000 Rands, less from the 260,000 Rand savings, and be 125,000 Rand up in the green. It's very easy to see that renting would have been the much better option for me, given that I bought the property all those years ago. I should have instead bought the property for 980,000 Rand in 2024, as opposed to the 785,000 Rand I initially paid back in 2013, if I chose to buy. The problem with interest nowadays is that the market appreciation very rarely exceeds all the ground costs involved in operationally maintaining the cost of your property. And this is certainly the case for apartment, condo style properties, where there's very little you can do in the property to appreciate the value. And this is where the type of property comes into play. The type of property that you own determines the value cap that it reaches. The very same thing is true for freestanding type houses or properties. In that case, there's a higher likelihood that you could do things on the property to increase the value of it, and your demand for the property will increase as you appreciate the value of it by doing things on the property, inside and outside. So the moral and end game of all of this is the following. Don't be falsely convinced into having to buy a property. Do the maths for yourself. Balance out your phantom costs, your future potential appreciation costs. Be as accurate as possible. Make the decision based on fact, and then you decide. Check out my new video on how to manage your money up next.